Hey guys, welcome back. We're ready for section number 5, which is going to feature bobble stitches. So we're going to be going over how to work the bobble stitch pattern. It is a 4-row repeat, and that is because the bobble stitches are staggered. So we're going to be going over those instructions. We're going to go over how to add yarn if you run out while you're working this section, and we're going to go over how to count rows of bobble stitch. If you'd like to reference the written pattern, you can pop down into the description box below. You'll find the link to it there, as well as the link to my newsletter. Newsletter subscribers do get access to the free file library on my website where they can download PDFs of the patterns. You're also going to find the instructions for all the other sections of this crochet along in the description box as well. Let's go ahead and get started. To get started, we're going to chain 1 and turn. That chain 1 does not count as a stitch, it's just our turning chain. We're going to start by working a single crochet into each of those first 4 stitches, starting with the first stitch here that our chain is connected to. Insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over and pull through, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Alright, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets. I'm using those V shapes here at the top to count my stitches. The next stitch is going to be a bobble stitch, and we're going to be alternating rows of just simple single crochet all the way across and then single crochet with the bobble stitches. When we're looking at the flat back side of our work, that's how we know we're going to work a bobble stitch row, because as you work them, they're going to pop out on the other side of the fabric. So into this very next stitch, we're basically going to work the first part of a double crochet several times. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that stitch, picking up both loops as normal, yarn over and pull through. There's 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. You're going to leave those last 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert your hook back into the same exact stitch, yarn over and pull through, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops only. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to continue this process so that we have 5 loops on our hook. Yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops only, yarn over, insert your hook back into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops only. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. Now right now it just looks like a big cluster of stitches, but as soon as we work this next set of single crochets, it's going to bring this down to the same level as those single crochets, and it's going to make this cluster here pop out on the other side. This is also where our repeat begins. Single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches, bobble stitch into the next stitch. So the repeat is 6 stitches long. Let's go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch and into the next stitch. That's 2 single crochets so far. But I'm going to pull up that loop and flip it over so I can show you that the bobble is now popped out on that other side. And that's why we have to work the bobble stitches from the back of the fabric so that they pop out on the front of the fabric. So I have 2 single crochets here. I'm going to continue working, so I have 5 single crochets. One, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets. You're going to notice that the V shape at the top for the bobble stitch is longer than the V shape at the top for the single crochets. That's going to be one way you can separate them when you're looking at the tops. So 5 single crochets, next stitch is a bobble stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, leaving 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, insert your hook back into the same exact stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops only. You now have 3 loops. Yarn over, insert your hook into the same exact stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops only. There's 4 loops. Yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops only. Now we have 5 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. Then the repeat again, single crochet into each of those next 5 stitches, bobble stitch into the next stitch. And this is the repeat we're going to continue with for this row. Single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches, bobble stitch into the next stitch. You're going to work that all the way across to the end. After you work your last bobble stitch, you're going to have 4 stitches left unworked. There's my last repeat here, 5 single crochets and a bobble stitch. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left, and I'm going to single crochet into each of those last 4 stitches. And that's it. Row 1 of the bobble stitch section is complete, and the bobble stitches are popping out on the other side of the fabric. So right after we work a bobble stitch row, we're going to chain 1, turn, and work a single crochet row. So chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to single crochet. And we know every time we're looking at the front textured side of our work, we're going to be doing a single crochet row. And we're just going to do a single crochet into the very first stitch that our chain is connected to, and then into each stitch all the way across to the end. When you get to the bobble stitches, the stitch has fallen to the back. So you might need to rotate your fabric forward, pretty much so that you can see the back of the fabric, and that's where you're going to see that long V shape there at the top, just pushed to the back. And that's it. Now we're just going to go ahead and keep single crocheting all the way across until we get to the very end of the row. And that's it. That's the end of row 2. Before we move on to row 3, I want to point out that our bobble stitches from row 1 have 4 stitches on both ends, on the left side and on the right side. We're now going to do another bobble stitch row. This is going to be the 3rd row of the repeat. This is a 4-row repeat. But the next bobble stitch row is just going to have 1 stitch on each side, with the first bobble stitch in the next stitch, which is going to be diagonally above the first bobble stitch from row 1, and the next bobble stitch is going to be diagonally up from that bobble stitch as well, in between those 2 bobble stitches from row 1. So as we alternate our 2 rows of bobble stitches, these stitches themselves are going to be staggered in between each other. So we start with a chain 1 and we turn our work, single crochet into the very first stitch that our chain is connected to, then we work a bobble stitch into the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch and into the next 4 stitches, so that we have 5 single crochets in total. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the next stitch, which is the 6th stitch, is going to be a bobble stitch. Same repeat as before, 6 stitches wide. Now we're going to continue in pattern, single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. Bobble stitch into the next stitch. And that's how we're going to continue all the way down the row. You're going to see that from the other side, the bobble stitches are going to be staggered in between. Here in this 3rd row, we have a bobble here to the left of the first one from row 1. And once we make it to the end, we're going to have a bobble that's going to be on the outside of the last bobble from row 1 as well. So as you work all the way across, the last bobble stitch is going to be worked in the 2nd to last stitch, leaving us with just 1 stitch at the end. There's my last repeat of 5 single crochets and a bobble stitch. Now we have 1 stitch left here on the end, and we're going to work 1 single crochet. And that's it. That's row 3 and the 3rd row of the 4-row repeat. Now after we finish a bobble stitch row, we know the next row is going to be just single crochet. Start with a chain 1 and turn. Single crochet into the very first stitch our chain is connected to, and in each stitch all the way across. Again, when we work over the bobble stitches, we will need to rotate our fabric forward so we can see the V shape to insert our hook into to work the single crochet. rotate the fabric forward, V shape has fallen to the back, and complete the single crochet. And that's it. That's going to be row 4 and the 4th row of the repeat, single crochet all the way across to the end. And now we're going to continue repeating these 4 rows for this entire section. You'll start again from row 1, working the bobbles, row 2 of just single crochet, row 3 of the bobble, and row 4 of single crochet. So to start each row, we're going to start each one with a chain 1 and turn. When we're looking at the front textured side, we know we're going to work single crochets across. When we're looking at the flat back side, we know we're going to be doing a bobble stitch row. And the way you're going to remember your bobble stitches, one of them is going to start with 4 single crochets and then the bobble stitch. And one of them is going to start with just 1 single crochet and then the bobble stitch. The repeat in between is the same for both of them. It is single crochet into the next 5 stitches and then work a bobble stitch into the next one, so it's 6 stitches. But the beginning and the end is either going to be 4 stitches and then a bobble, or 1 stitch and then a bobble. So if you need a refresher on these 4 rows, you can use the timestamp section in the description box to jump you back to any of the rows. The next row that we have here is going to start again at row 1. Before I put up the chart showing how many rows you're going to want to have, we're going to talk about how to add yarn if you run out while you're working, and then we're going to talk about how to count your rows. Regardless of whether you're working from the back of your fabric, which is what I am, the flat back side, or the front textured side, you're going to add the new ball of yarn the same way. And this can be within the pattern, at the beginning of the pattern, at the end of the pattern, it doesn't matter. I'm going to recommend that if you're working from the back side, you only change yarn within a single crochet. It's just easier that way to keep your fabric clean and consistent. So basically we're going to work up the first half of a single crochet. Insert your hook into the stitch as normal, yarn over and pull through, 2 loops on your hook. The next step is going to be yarn over and pull through to complete the stitch. So this is where we're going to switch to our new ball. You're going to want to make sure you're leaving a tail end here that's long enough you can comfortably weave in. If you don't have enough here to do so, then remove a stitch or 2 so that you can get a longer tail end. You're going to go to the new ball, form a loop near the end, leaving a tail end long enough you can comfortably weave in. Put this loop onto your hook. That's going to count as the yarn over, and then you just pull that through to complete the single crochet. You can see here on the left it's pretty long, so I'm just going to take the original tail end, give it a tug. I'm going to drop the original tail end to the back side that I'm looking at, drop the tail end from the new ball to the back side, and then I can grab the new working yarn and I can go ahead and start working with it. And if my loops here look inconsistent, too big or loose, I can just tug on these strands to make everything look a little bit nicer. I'm going to bring the tail ends to the back side regardless of where I switch. So if I was on the front side and I was switching my yarn color, I would drop my tail ends to the back. That way all the weaving can be done on the back side of the fabric. Counting rows of bobble stitches is really easy because the bobbles are so easy to pick out. Starting down here towards the bottom of this section, I have the first row of bobbles. So I'm going to count that as 1. And I'm going to go up by odd numbers because there's that row of single crochet in the middle. And it's actually pretty hard to see that row of single crochet, so I only count the bobble stitch rows. I'm going to move up diagonally 1, 3, 5. Row 1, row 3, and row 5. And you just want to make sure that you are working diagonally as you count. That way you don't miss anything in between. When we finish this section, we're going to want to finish after working from the flat back side a row of bobble stitches. That way the next section can start from the front of the fabric. We do have to add some increases or decreases depending on the size that you're working. We're going to do that in the very last row of this stitch pattern for some of the sizes, or the very first row of the next section for the other sizes. So you'll notice in the chart, depending on the size that you're working, that it instructs you to finish on either a single crochet row or the bobble stitch row. If you're finishing on the bobble stitch row, then we're going to be adjusting in the next section. If you're finishing on a single crochet row, then we're going to be adjusting in the very last row of bobble stitches. So after you work up the rows provided in the chart, make sure you stay till the end so that we can finish this section up together. If you're working one of the sizes that we need to increase in the last row of the bobble stitch pattern, you've been instructed to finish from the front side of the fabric a single crochet row. You're going to chain one and turn and begin your bobble stitch row as normal. Work all the way across to the last several stitches. Now, depending on the size that you're working, you may finish your last repeat with 4 stitches left, or you may finish the last repeat with just 1 stitch left. In this case, I have 4 stitches left. So it does not matter which ending you have, we're going to go ahead and just add 1 more stitch. So I'm going to work these last 3 single crochets, leaving 1 stitch. This way, if you have the bobble stitch row that just had a bobble right here and you have 1 stitch left, it looks the same right now. And in this very last stitch, to increase the stitch count, we just work 2 stitches in there. So first stitch like normal, and then go back into that same exact stitch and work another single crochet. And now you've added a stitch here in this last stitch, increasing your total stitch count by 1 stitch. And that's it for our bobble stitch section. We have one more section to complete. Section 6 is going to feature the Suzette stitch. When the video tutorial is ready for it, I will pop it down in the description box below. That's where you're going to find all of the sections for this crochet along. You'll also find the link to the written pattern there and the link to my newsletter. Newsletter subscribers do get access to my free file library on my website where they can download PDFs of the patterns. I'll catch you guys next time.